There is a specific kind of unease that arrives on a Wednesday night. Nothing catastrophic has happened. The paycheck cleared. The balance looks almost identical to last month. The number is not alarming, and yet, by the end of every month, there is always less left than there should be. No reckless spending, no obvious mistakes, just the quiet sensation of treading water. That feeling has a name. It has a cause. And most of it was never explained. For most adults, financial life begins at 18 with a debit card and a vague instruction to figure it out. No rulebook, no operating manual, just access to a system built on terms and conditions few people read and fewer truly understand. If the rules remain hidden, the system performs exactly as designed. It wins, quietly, politely. One number makes the cost of that silence visible. Financial illiteracy costs Americans $246 billion every year, nearly $1,000 per person. Not through fraud, not through that catastrophe, through small misunderstandings repeated at scale. Meanwhile, years of formal education are spent revisiting photosynthesis. Chlorophyll levels rarely determine adulthood. Mortgages do. This is not about intelligence, it is about missing rules. 10 concepts. The real mechanics of the system, explained without decoration. Meet Sarah. She is 28. She earns $65,000 a year. She has about $4,000 sitting in her checking account. She believes she is doing reasonably well. She checks her balance. It looks stable. It feels stable. It isn't. Number 10. That $4,000 is shrinking. Not visibly, not dramatically, but continuously. Sarah did nothing wrong. The erosion comes from something slow and structural. Inflation. Prices rise over time. Each dollar quietly buys less than it once did. Since 2020, cumulative inflation has been roughly 25%. Groceries that cost $100 in 2020 cost about $125 today. The bank balance may look unchanged. Its purchasing power did not survive intact. Money left in a checking account behaves like an ice cube on a kitchen counter. It appears solid when first placed there. Time passes. It diminishes. No mistake was required. Physics operates whether it is observed or not. So does the economy. The average checking account earns approximately 0.01% interest annually. Inflation historically runs closer to 2 to 3% in more stable periods. The gap is loss. Every year, purchasing power slips by that margin. $10,000 left untouched for a decade can lose around $2,500 of real value to inflation. The bank, in exchange for holding and lending that money, may pay roughly $10 per year. The relationship is not neutral. The depositor subsidizes the institution. The adjustment is simple, though rarely stated clearly. Keep 1 to 2 months of expenses in checking for liquidity. Excess cash belongs in a high-yield savings account, where rates currently sit closer to 4 to 5% annually. Money that will not be needed for 5 years or more should not remain idle at all. Because inflation is not dramatic, it is patient, and patience in finance compounds. The erosion is real. The math is documented. The outcome is not hypothetical. Number 9. Sarah opens a high-yield savings account and feels a quiet sense of progress. The interest rate is higher. The money is no longer dissolving as quickly. It is a step forward. It is not the full picture. There is a force in finance that works slowly at first and then all at once. It builds fortunes. It also buries people in debt. The mechanism is identical in both directions. Compound interest. Interest is earned on money. Then, in the next period, interest is earned on the original amount, plus the interest already accumulated. The base expands. Growth accelerates. What begins as a nearly flat line eventually bends upward into something that looks almost vertical. The curve is deceptive in its early years. For a long time, the numbers appear ordinary. Then time exerts its leverage, but Warren Buffett is worth over $100 billion. More than 99% of that wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. He began investing as a teenager. For decades, the growth looked unremarkable compared to the final outcome. The intelligence did not suddenly increase in his 70s. The mathematics simply had enough time to unfold. The system rewarded duration. If Sarah invests $200 per month, beginning at age 28, earning a historical average of roughly 8% annually in a broad index fund, she ends up with approximately $480,000 by age 65. If her colleague waits until 38 to start the exact same plan, same $200 per month, same 8% return, same retirement age, he accumulates around $220,000. The difference is not talent. It is not discipline measured in effort. It is time spent inside a compounding structure. 10 years removed more than half the outcome. Now reverse the direction. Compound interest does not care whether the balance is positive or negative. It accelerates debt with equal indifference. The average credit card charges around 22% interest. If Sarah carries $6,500 in credit card debt, roughly the national average, and makes only minimum payments, it can take over 14 years to eliminate the balance. During that time, she pays nearly $6,500 in interest alone. The original amount doubles in cost. At 22%, debt can double in roughly 3 years. Meanwhile, investments compounding at 8% may double every 7 to 9 years. The asymmetry is severe. While assets grow gradually, high-interest debt grows aggressively. Minimum payments create movement without progress. The balance declines slowly while interest rebuilds it beneath the surface. Activity is visible, escape is not. The implication is uncomfortable but clear. Start investing early, even in small amounts, because time amplifies consistency. And eliminate high-interest debt before prioritizing most other financial goals, because it compounds at a rate that typical investments cannot reliably outrun. Compound interest is not inspirational, it is mechanical. It operates whether understood or not, and it never stops running. Number 8. Every year people decline raises, not because they dislike money, not because they lack ambition, but because they believe earning more will somehow leave them with less after taxes. The persistence of this belief is not harmless, it is expensive. The United States operates under a progressive tax system. Income is divided into layers. Each layer is taxed at its own rate. The system resembles a stack of buckets. Money fills the lowest bucket first. When that bucket overflows, additional income spills into the next one at a higher rate. The earlier buckets remain untouched. For 2024, roughly the first $11,900 of taxable income is taxed at 10%. The next portion, up to about $36,000 beyond that, is taxed at 12%. The next layer begins at 22%. Each bracket applies only to the income within its boundaries. The money in lower brackets is never retroactively repriced. Sarah earns $90,000. After a standard deduction of roughly $15,000, her taxable income is about $75,000. Her total federal tax bill is approximately $11,500. That produces an effective tax rate in the range of 13 to 15%. Not 22%, not the highest bracket she touches. If she receives a $5,000 raise, only the portion that lands in her highest bracket is taxed at that marginal rate. The government might take around $1,100 of that new income. She keeps roughly $3,900. There is no scenario under this structure where earning more results in taking home less. The math does not allow it. The fear of crossing into a higher bracket often leads people to negotiate less aggressively, decline overtime, or avoid advancement. The misunderstanding preserves stagnation. Those who understand the mechanics continue forward. There are legitimate strategies within the system. Contributing to a pre-tax 401k reduces taxable income, potentially keeping more earnings in lower brackets. The structure can be navigated intentionally, but it cannot be defeated by avoiding income. The brackets are not traps, they are partitions. And the arithmetic is publicly documented. Number 7. There is another number shaping Sarah's financial life. It does not appear on her bank statement. It is not printed on her pay stub. Yet it determines the price she pays for borrowed money with ruthless precision. Her credit score. It ranges from 300 to 850. 5 primary factors determine it. Payment history accounts for about 35%. Credit utilization, the ratio of balances to available credit, makes up roughly 30%. Length of credit history contributes about 15%. Credit mix and new inquiries fill in the remainder. 5 inputs, 1 number, substantial consequences. Consider a $300,000 30-year mortgage. A borrower with excellent credit, 760 and above, might secure an interest rate around 6.5%, resulting in a monthly payment near $1,900. A borrower with fair credit, between 620 and 640, might receive a rate closer to 8.5% with a monthly payment around $2,300. A difference of roughly $400 per month. Over 30 years, that gap accumulates to nearly $145,000 in additional interest. Same house, same loan amount, same neighborhood. The only difference is a 3-digit number many people struggle to define. Misconceptions around credit are persistent. 41% of Americans believe carrying a small balance improves their score. It does not. Paying interest on revolving balances does nothing positive for credit health. It transfers money to the lender without improving the underlying metric. 27% believe checking their own credit score lowers it. It does not. Personal checks are soft inquiries. They are invisible to lenders evaluating applications. Approximately 1 in 5 Americans currently has an error on their credit report. These inaccuracies can suppress scores for years if unnoticed. Errors rarely correct themselves. The actions that matter are not complex. Pay every bill on time. That alone represents over a third of the score. Keep credit utilization below 30%. Avoid closing long-standing accounts without reason. Limit clusters of new applications. Review credit reports regularly through annualcreditreport.com to identify inaccuracies. Credit scores are not moral judgments. They are statistical risk assessments, but the price attached to those statistics is real. And over decades, the difference compounds. Number 6. Debt is not a single category. It is two different species sharing a name. Some people avoid all borrowing with equal fear. Others carry high-interest balances as if they are permanent fixtures of adulthood. Both positions ignore a critical distinction. Good debt builds value or increases earning power over time. A mortgage on a property that appreciates. A student loan tied to a degree that leads to a career earning substantially more than the cost of education. In these cases, the borrowed money is attached to something that either grows in value or increases income capacity. Bad debt finances depreciation or consumption. A 7-year car loan on a vehicle worth significantly less the moment it leaves the lot. Credit card balances from a vacation already completed. Purchases that no longer exist while the obligation remains. The asset disappears. The payment does not. The interest rate is often the clearest signal. High rates, especially those in the 20% range, indicate expensive money. When the underlying purchase does not generate income or appreciate meaningfully, the structure drains wealth. The test is blunt. Does this debt put money into the future or extract it? For those carrying high interest balances, two primary repayment strategies exist. The avalanche method targets the highest interest rate first. Mathematically, it minimizes total interest paid. The snowball method targets the smallest balance first. Behaviorally, it creates visible progress, increasing the likelihood of completion. From a purely numerical standpoint, avalanche is superior. From a human standpoint, completion is superior to abandonment. A slightly less efficient plan executed consistently outperforms a perfect one left unfinished. Debt does not announce its category, it reveals itself over time. The distinction is structural, the outcomes are measurable. Number 5. On a Thursday morning, Sarah's car makes a sound it has never made before, let's say. The mechanic quotes $1,400. She does not have $1,400 set aside for unexpected repairs. She is not alone. 59% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. The repair goes on a credit card charging 22% interest. Minimum payments follow. 4 years later, that $1,400 repair has cost approximately $2,200. The event was mechanical, the aftermath was financial. An emergency fund functions as a circuit breaker. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses stored in a separate high-yield savings account. Untouched except for genuine emergencies. Not a sale, not a trip, not convenience. A true interruption. For someone starting from zero, the first milestone is $1,000. That amount covers most routine car repairs, common medical deductibles, and minor household crises. It prevents inconvenience from evolving into debt. The psychological effect is significant. A bad day remains a bad day. It does not cascade into compounding interest. An emergency fund does not generate high returns, it generates stability. It converts volatility into inconvenience instead of catastrophe. Number 4. Every dollar carries two price tags. The first is visible, it appears on the receipt, it clears the account. The second is invisible, it represents what that dollar could have become if directed elsewhere. Economists call it opportunity cost. The average American household spends between $200 and $300 per month on subscriptions. When asked, most estimate closer to $80. The difference is not dramatic in isolation, it is persistent. $200 per month invested at 8% over 30 years grows to roughly $293,000. The subscriptions themselves are not inherently irresponsible. The issue is unexamined repetition. Services rarely used. Automatic renewals unnoticed. Small charges that never require active approval. The solution is procedural, not philosophical. Review the last 2 bank statements. Identify every recurring charge. Mark any service unused in the past 30 days. Cancel it or consciously decide to retain it. For many, this exercise frees $50 to $150 per month without altering daily life in any meaningful way. The goal is not austerity, it is awareness. Money unassigned will always find a direction. Whether that direction compounds into wealth or dissipates through friction depends on attention. The arithmetic is neutral. The consequences are not. Number 3. When Sarah decides she is ready to invest seriously, the noise begins. Stock tips. Market predictions. Headlines announcing crashes and rallies in the same week. Friends discussing individual companies as if insight alone guarantees returns. The system appears complex. It is often presented as a test of intelligence. The data suggests something quieter. Broad index fund investing through tax-advantaged accounts has consistently outperformed the majority of actively managed strategies over long periods. An index fund owns small portions of hundreds or thousands of companies simultaneously. It does not attempt to select the single winner. It buys the entire field. Even professional fund managers struggle to beat the market consistently. Warren Buffett once wagered $1 million that a simple S&P 500 index fund would outperform a curated portfolio of hedge funds over 10 years. The index fund won decisively. The hedge fund managers possessed advanced degrees and decades of experience. The index fund required only low fees and time. The outcome was not ideological, it was mathematical. If Sarah's employer offers a 401k with a matching contribution, capturing the full match is the highest return decision available to her. A 50% employer match is an immediate 50% return before the funds are even invested. No stock selection, no market timing, no speculative asset reliably competes with that guaranteed gain. Failing to contribute enough to receive the full match is equivalent to declining compensation already offered. Beyond that, a Roth IRA allows after-tax contributions to grow tax-free. Taxes are paid on the seed, not the harvest. Decades later, withdrawals in retirement are not taxed under current law. The structure is straightforward: contribute enough to a 401k to receive the full match. Open a Roth IRA if eligible. Select a low-cost index fund, automate contributions. Leave the portfolio undisturbed. The strategy depends less on brilliance than on endurance. Patience is not glamorous, it is effective. The historical record is extensive, the evidence is public. Number 2. Sarah receives a promotion. Her salary increases from $65,000 to $80,000. The improvement feels earned. She upgrades her apartment. The difference is about $200 more per month. She leases a nicer car, roughly $300 more monthly. Groceries improve. Dining out becomes more frequent, another $150. None of these decisions feel reckless. Each adjustment seems proportional to her new income. 12 months later, her financial position feels similar to before. Lifestyle inflation. As income rises, spending quietly expands to absorb it. Often within 6 months, the margin between earnings and savings remains unchanged. The finish line moves forward at the same pace as effort. Psychologists describe this adaptation as the hedonic treadmill. Humans adjust rapidly to improved circumstances. What once felt transformative becomes routine. The danger lies in subtle accumulation. $200 for housing, $300 for a vehicle, $150 for food. The increments appear manageable individually. Invested at 8% over 25 years, $650 per month grows to over $600,000. The upgrades are not extreme. The opportunity cost is. The adjustment required is immediate and mechanical. When a raise occurs, automate at least half of the increase into investments before lifestyle expands to accommodate it. If the additional income never fully passes through checking, it does not become baseline expectation. This is how individuals earning ordinary salaries retire with balances that appear extraordinary. Not through dramatic restraint, through controlled expansion. Income growth without savings discipline changes appearance. It does not change trajectory. Number 1. Insurance is rarely discussed with enthusiasm. It is not designed to create wealth. It exists to prevent destruction. A seatbelt is not fastened in anticipation of impact. It is worn because impact cannot always be avoided. Financial life operates under similar logic. One uninsured event can erase years of disciplined progress. Renter's insurance typically costs between $15 and $30 per month. It covers personal property against fire, theft, and certain types of damage. When tallied honestly, electronics, furniture, clothing, appliances, many renters possess $15,000 to $20,000 in belongings. Protective cases are purchased for phones worth $1,200. Entire households sometimes remain uninsured to save $15 per month. The omission is rarely strategic. It is oversight. Health insurance is essential. An uninsured appendectomy can exceed $35,000. A single emergency room visit for a broken arm can approach $10,000. Medical events do not negotiate based on savings goals. If others depend on one's income, term life insurance becomes structural. A $500,000 20-year term policy for a healthy 30-year-old often costs between $20 and $30 per month. The premium resembles minor discretionary spending. The protection replaces income if absence occurs. Insurance does not generate return, it preserves continuity. The objective is not to collect a payout. It is to ensure that when the worst day arrives, and statistically, some version of it eventually does, it remains a personal crisis, not a compounded financial collapse. Sarah began with $4,000 in checking and the belief she was likely fine. She now understands why idle cash erodes, how compound interest builds or destroys depending on direction, why tax brackets do not punish raises, how credit scores alter loan costs by 6 figures, the structural difference between productive and destructive debt, the function of an emergency fund, the silent accumulation of subscription leakage, the evidence behind index investing, the gravitational pull of lifestyle inflation, and the protective perimeter insurance creates. This is not motivational rhetoric, it is an operating manual. The rules were always available, they were simply not emphasized. Selecting one action, opening a high-yield savings account, automating a modest investment, reviewing a credit report, alters trajectory more reliably than attempting all 10 simultaneously and abandoning them. The system has been functioning regardless of understanding. Now the mechanics are visible. If this recalibrated perception, subscribe. Further examinations of the same system continue here. And if someone is still navigating these structures without a framework, sharing this may be more valuable than informal advice. The rules are not hidden anymore. They are simply applied.